Hi, I'm Dr. Abby Hill. I'll be your instructor for this course, and I just wanted to take a couple of minutes just to introduce myself and just give you a few pointers in general about the course. I will be sending out probably other video messages too over the next few weeks. This is just kind of the first one just to orient you to some things. You may want to go back and actually even replay this video to be able to take some notes about maybe some pointers and things I've said, or just sit back and listen and just again, just we'll kind of meet and greet each other here today. So let me start by just giving you a little bit of background about me. I'm a licensed school psychologist. I work right now in the public school setting, and then I also work in private practice. And I also teach at Liberty, obviously, but also occasionally as an adjunct professor at some other universities, mostly in counseling department programs. I graduated actually from Liberty in 2000 with my master's in counseling in the distance education program, much like you're doing right now. So we kind of have that in common. And I want to encourage you to proceed and finish with your degree. Liberty has a great program, and I'm proud to be a part of that. But just to know that it can be done. I worked full-time and had a family and went to class online and the intensives and all those good things, just like you are doing or have done. And it's hard, and you've got to stay motivated and know that this is what your purpose is and what you're supposed to be doing, and try to stay motivated that way. But it is hard, so you're to be commended, and I understand that you're juggling a lot of things right now, and I appreciate that. I then, after I was able to get my master's in counseling from Liberty, I also went on to get a specialist degree in school psychology, and then a doctorate in counseling psychology. So I kind of come from a place of working in the schools and doing a lot of testing and counseling and other things, and that's also what I do in my private practice as well. So kind of a hybrid between mental health counseling, or therapy as we might know it, and then also the things that a psychologist would do, like I said, in schools and testing and that sort of thing. So I always consider myself a facilitator of the courses that I teach, but also a learner. I think we all should remain learners throughout our career, and I do. I learn every time I teach the course too, and I think that's kind of neat, and I think that's one reason why I enjoy it so much, is because I am able to kind of learn along with you. I mean, hopefully I have some expertise as well, but I'm sure you guys are out there working in the field and have come with a lot of experience. Certainly in a graduate program, often you're already out there working as professionals, so I can learn from you too. So I look forward to that. Let me just give you a couple of pointers again for the course, in no particular order, and keep in mind that for some people this is their first online course at Liberty or anywhere else for that matter. For others of you, you've done this for a long time, and so some of this you may not need to know, but just keep that in mind that everybody is at kind of a different place in their expertise here with the online learning environment. So some of the things I'm going to say may be very basic for some. In no particular order, just to remind you to make sure that you read your Liberty email frequently. I'd love to say daily. I know for some people that's not always possible, but at least a couple times a week. I tend to send quite a few emails. I send graded papers back to you through email. If I didn't get a paper or something, or I need to get in touch with you, I would do it through email. I'm a big email user, so the best way to get in touch with me, in fact, is through email, although I do have a telephone number of my office under the faculty bio on the website. But email, we definitely need to stay in touch that way. And also I'll post quite a few announcements in Blackboard that kind of continually update. So just make a commitment to really checking in to the Liberty system. Keep in mind too that all of our emails are to go through the Liberty system, opposed to you may have other outside email accounts, just like I do, but we need to keep our course discussions and our communications that have to do with Liberty within that system. Also on emails, I attempt to do a 24-hour turnaround within 24 hours to respond back to your email. I'm out and traveling a lot during the day, and sometimes even in the evening. I don't read emails till sometimes later in the day or in the evening. So it can take me maybe 24 hours to get back to you. So kind of keep that in mind too. Just know that I'm trying to get back as soon as I can. If maybe a couple of days have gone by and you haven't heard back from me on an email, please feel free to email me again. May mean I didn't get it. Maybe I just need to be prodded a little bit to go ahead and get back to you, depending on the question. Some are obviously more urgent than others. But at least a day, if you can give me that turnaround time to get back in my email and read. And sometimes maybe what you're asking me needs some research or something I have to look up. So take me a little bit of time, but I will get back. It's very important to me to do that. Also, I would suggest right now, early on in the course, that you check your computer that you're going to have access to and the tech requirements for the course. I would suggest going through all the pages and all the lessons in Blackboard. Make sure that the links will work for you. We might have a video for you to view or somewhere to go to an outside web page. Make sure those are working for you ahead of time. Don't wait till the week that, oh, you know, I've got to do this assignment and now I can't get in. I would say check those things and make sure again that you have the right software that you're going to need and those kind of things. So just ahead of time, and anticipate any problems, and if there are problems, it gives you time to get in touch with tech support or get the software downloaded that you need and that sort of thing. Definitely would suggest that. Also, just a reminder that the Liberty Online week runs Monday through Sunday. So all work for that week is due by Sunday midnight Eastern Time each week. So Monday through Sunday is the Liberty Week. Also on discussion board posts, you have one of those nearly every week in this course. You will be put into a group to communicate in those activities within your group. Each week I'll send you an email in a few days, if I haven't already, to tell you what group you're in, and then you'll work with your group. The requirement on those, they are graded. Discussion board posts are graded. You're required to respond to the original post, the original question, and then your response needs to be in the 250 word range and should always include a reference citation from what information you're using and where you got that to support what you have to say about the question. So always do that. That's one piece of the weekly discussion board. The second piece is that you respond to at least one other learner in your group for that question in a substantive way. Now there is a rubric in the course for what substantive might mean in terms of your response to someone else, but just basically that it extends, your post extends the conversation, extends the discussion, it adds to it, and I don't require a reference in the reply to another learner, but it sure is great to see that. If you can add to it and say, here's what I found on that, and here's, you know, my thoughts on that. But it doesn't have to necessarily be in the 250 word range either, 100 words or so, as long as it's meaningful and it continues the discussion and not just a, oh yes I agree or no I don't, but really adds to things. So you would need to post your original post plus at least one other post to another learner for each week. Okay, also in the first week of class, in the first actually 3 days of class, you need to make certain that you've completed the course requirements checklist. It's set up like a little mini quiz or test in Blackboard in the first week. That needs to be completed in the first 3 days. In fact, it won't be open and available to you after the third day of class, the Wednesday of week 1. That is where you check in terms of, like, I'm taking attendance or I'm taking roll is one of the pieces of it. It verifies, confirms your attendance in the course. I'm here. And that's really important, particularly for financial aid, that we have to show that you're in there, that you're here and you're participating. You also will be checking a few checklists that questions that say, yes, I read the syllabus and I understand the requirements, that'll be the expectations for me in this course, etc. There's 2 or 3 questions, but make sure you do that in the first 3 days, or possibly it could jeopardize your attendance in the course. So make sure you do that, the CRC, as we call it. And also, I posted this in Blackboard, but I wanted to mention it again. you will find that when I grade your papers, certainly I'm looking at content, of course, but I also hold fairly strongly in the grading, and I believe Liberty does support that too, of the quality of your writing itself, and again, the content that you've used, references, etc., but also things like grammar and APA format and those things. Those are all really, really important. Probably more so in the online learning environment than any other. Your written word really has to speak for you as a student and as a professional. That's really the only way I have to judge that you've encountered the material, that you've learned from it, you've processed it, you understand it. You know, since we can't really converse back and forth in a direct traditional way, I have to count on your writing to tell me that. So you want to make sure that your writing is really very strong, and that you're very meticulous about things like APA and grammar and things of that nature. And again, I will grade those fairly heavily. No, this isn't a writing course per se, but really all courses are writing courses, in my opinion, because again, you just really need to show that you're a quality student, a quality professional, and so I want to see those things in your writing. I don't say that to frighten you in terms of that I'm really going to be a stickler about those things in an over-the-top kind of way. But I definitely will make comments about those things and expect you to make changes. What I do is I return your graded papers to you with edits or comments typed in, feedback typed in, and a lot of times you may see that I've mentioned things that I want you to improve on. You don't have to redo that paper, but I would expect whatever I suggested there would show up on the next paper, that is something that you now do. If I said you need to cite your references more fully in text within the body of the paper, I would expect on the next paper you would do that. So again, just make sure that your papers are really tight. Liberty has a writing center. You may be aware of that you can access through the website. They do wonderful services. They edit and give feedback, and they have resources to how to be a better writer, and there's a lot of support there, because I know that everybody's not the best writer. Maybe it doesn't come as naturally to you, but take advantage of those things, because I do expect you to produce good writing. And one more word about reference citation. I do expect you to cite, as I call it, liberally within your paper. I like to see almost to the point of too much reference citation. In other words, too much is better than not enough. I want to see that everything that you mention that is going to be things you've read, that you've cited. I once had a professor say that if you did not discover it or invent it, you need to cite who did. So a lot of what we're coming across here are not things that we came up with on our own. We did read them somewhere. So we need to make sure we cite where we got that information. That's just real important for the integrity, the academic integrity of your work also. So I'd rather see too much citing too frequently than not enough. So make sure you do that. I would suggest that you print out the course syllabus, the weekly chart, the rubrics. Print those out, keep them handy. The weekly chart is great to write the date things are due and check them off when they're done. It's a really great way to organize your time and your efforts, especially if you're in more than one class, which a lot of you probably are. So print those things out and use them as tools to help you organize. The rubrics, I always tell students too, always look over the rubric before you hand in a paper for grading and make sure that your work meets the rubric requirements. Oftentimes the rubric is actually more specific about the requirements of the assignment than the instructions are. Now you need the instructions, of course, too, and make sure you do all those things, but you need to pull the rubric and make sure that your work aligns with that as well. So honestly, so you're not surprised when I grade it, because I grade it based on the rubric. So always use those, print those out, use those as a tool. Each assignment has one. Make sure that you're hitting all the things that are on there that you're going to get points for, or points taken away if they're not there. I would also suggest highly that you always save all your work. on one of the pen drives, or it's probably better to do that than on the hard drive of your computer, but somewhere. Always save work that you've submitted to me for grading, because things can go down. You know, I'm sure you've seen that. With regard to writing, I did want to mention a couple more tips for you on that, or clarification. And that would be that when you're writing a formal academic paper, which all the ones in our course would be considered that, you would not use I. You would not write in first person. I or you should do this, or you should do that, or you would see that. We don't do any of those either. So no you or no I, unless there's a special assignment that might come up occasionally where you would be reflecting on your own experience. But as a general rule, there would be no I or you. You would write again in third person. And I always tell students one of the best examples of that is to see how your textbooks are written. See how they word things in that third person academic style, and not that maybe yours would reach the depths of formality that a textbook might, but just that idea, that tone of kind of how things are written, that's how an academic paper should read. So I wanted to make that suggestion also. With regard to your work, prior to sending it to me, or into Blackboard I should say, you submit all your work through Blackboard that reaches me. I always suggest before you do that to save a copy for yourself. Save it on your computer, or better yet on one of the flash drives, because you just never know where something might get lost in cyberspace somewhere. So always save a copy of your work. Just make a habit of doing that. Late policy on work, there's pretty much a standard point deduction taken for each day it's late. Sometimes no more than 5 days late work can even be accepted. So keep that in mind. Obviously you never want to be late with your work. You don't want to have points deducted for your hard work. Occasionally though, of course, something happens where that has to be, that something's come up, or a crisis type situation where you need to request an extension on a course or on an assignment. I want you to though do that as much as you possibly can in advance by sending me an email ahead of the due date to ask for an extension. Generally speaking, if something's happening, you would know that in advance. If work is really pressing that week, or you've been sick all week, or had a child that's sick, or certainly there's emergencies, I realize that, but in general you would at least know maybe a day or so in advance, I'm not going to make this deadline. So please submit a request for an extension to me. That way I can respond back to you and approve it, and clarify for you the points that may be deducted, or what the policy is for the late work. I just always try to encourage students to not fall into the temptation of submitting work after the deadline just on a regular basis, not to do that, even though, you know, yes, I can still submit it maybe 5 days late and I'll just lose some points. And I'll tell you why. Normally I see that when students, once they submit work late, once it seems to have the snowball effect and they never get caught up again. I've seen that happen far too many times, where it's like once one assignment's late, everything, the whole weekly schedule just gets off and they just get further and further behind. So really try to avoid submitting late work. But again, if you must, please request in advance of the deadline that extension. Speaking of lateness and time management and that sort of thing, I did want to mention that to you also. As an adult learner, and as I mentioned earlier, with jobs and children and spouses and all the things that come up, don't underestimate the value of a time management system for yourself, in terms of literally charting out by the day what I need to do today, how many chapters or pages I need to read, or what assignment is due and what I need to work on, and try to become very disciplined about your time that way. You will really find that you'll benefit in the long run by doing that, and plus it's very gratifying to be able to mark off things as they're accomplished off your list. And I think sometimes too the procrastination actually parallels sometimes the topic of plagiarism. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. My theory is that oftentimes students that do, unfortunately, violate some sort of copyright or plagiarism policies is not because they intentionally set out to cheat. I think a lot of times what happens is students become desperate at the last minute in getting assignments in, and it forces them to do things like copy somebody else's work that you would not normally do. And so I always say that I think time management is one of the best defenses against committing any kind of plagiarism, which, as we all know, we definitely don't want you to do. So think about that. Think about the time management and try as much as you can to stick to a schedule. And I think in the long run that'll really pay off for you. Again, we're about to wrap up our tips. Again, I just wanted to mention that probably the best way to reach me is email. Just give me a little bit of turnaround time to respond. Always try to give me as much notice as you can if there is a question that you need to email to me. That's always helpful as well, but I will respond back, hopefully within a day. So if you want to schedule an appointment to talk with me on the phone about something that maybe couldn't be resolved through email, or questions couldn't be answered by going through the course materials and that sort of thing, there's my phone number on the in Blackboard on the website. And phone, you'll probably get a voicemail message. Just leave your name and number, contact information, best way to reach you, and then I'll get back with you again. You need to allow me a day or two to be able to respond back to you also. So again, time management is key. The last thing I just wanted to mention is in our course, you may be encountering some things that are challenging, that maybe even sometimes are not really things you have an interest in, topics in particular that you may think, well, you know, I'm planning on doing this type of counseling, so I don't really have an interest in this, and this material's kind of dull, or that sort of thing. But I always tell students to always approach all of the material in a mindset of, what am I learning here that can help me help people? Because that's really what we're about. That's really why we're doing this. That's really why you're getting your degree in counseling. Is so ultimately you can help people. And we want to be able to do that in the most, knowledgeable, educated, professional way that we can. So everything that you encounter as you read, theories and models and terminology and concepts, always just think about, stop for a moment and just think, okay, how does this help me help people? And some things will come really naturally, the answer to that. Other things may take a little bit more time to process through, but I guarantee you that everything that we do encounter in the course is going to be useful to you as a helping professional. So just keep that in mind. And again, time management is key. And just stay motivated, knowing that you're on a path to doing what you're called to do in your profession, and hopefully those things will keep you motivated. But again, anytime you have any questions or any needs that I can be of assistance with, just let me know. All right, thanks.